You guys have probably seen it by now, but 2000's beats are going crazy, popularized by that new Tecca song. I'm not even going to give you any more explanation. I'm going to play the beat, and then we're going to break it down. So we're going to start with the loop, and before I break down any of these melodies, we got to learn about the history a little bit. Back in the 2000s, they didn't have all this advanced equipment. They were mainly using actual real-life synthesizers. One of the ones they commonly used was the Triton, and I used that a ton in my 2000s production. Pharrell, the Neptunes were using that. That was like one of the biggest synthesizers, at least from what I've seen and who I'm influenced by. Another good one, you can go into Analog Lab, and a bunch of the synths in here, like they got the clavinet, that's pretty good. They got the Prophet 5. Those are good synths which you can use to also replicate those 2000s vibes. You know, you can do some research. I'll put some on screen of commonly used synths in the 2000s and then just use those. So instead of just randomly browsing through random VSTs and plugins that aren't even going to give you the right vibe, we now know where to look. A very common misconception with these beats is that you have to have this super complex all over the place chord progression, when this is literally just, we're starting at the root note of the scale, we're in D sharp minor here. I'll even highlight all the notes for you just so you can see. And we're going up 5, which is a super common trap thing. It's in like every trap beat. So, you know, you just copy this over, go up 5, and then it matches up perfectly. Then I just repeated that, added this little F sharp, which is also in the scale, just following notes in the scale, and it sounded good. Just building chords in the scale. There's no fancy going out of the scale. There's nothing crazy like that. The only two things I will say, especially with these Triton sounds very good if you lower the velocity. And I strummed the notes. Bonus points if you actually play it out live. I was too lazy to when I made this, but it still sounds good. And then build bigger chords. I'm sure you guys know this, so I'm not going to like go super in depth. You can watch my music theory tutorial, which is my last video. I go more in depth on how to do this stuff, but we're using 9th chords, we're using 7th chords. Like, it's not just your basic triads, especially if you want this vibey, more modern Tecca feel. I then layered that on another pad from Triton, exact same chord progression. And the key to these beats is to layer. To get that big vibey sound, you just want to add a bunch of layers. And that's where the next sound comes in, which are the Rhodes from Analog Lab. We're just playing the chords from the first bar and the third bar, but here's where the sauce comes in. This is something you can do in your beats to give it a more realistic feeling, and I'll recreate it from scratch here. So this is the first chord that's in the beat. And that just doesn't sound good, especially at such a high octave. But what you can do is you can go to Option S to strum. Most people strum like this, but you actually want to go the other way and then have a very low velocity. What really makes it sound realistic and good is that you can actually go over here to your playlist and offset it a little bit so it comes in early before the drop. And I'll show you what that sounds like. It just gives it a nice feeling, sounds very realistic. And then again right here. And it's super subtle, especially on this beat. Sometimes I'll make it a little more dramatic on my other ones, but just that little offset feeling makes it sound so much better in my opinion. Now for my favorite part of the 2000s beats is just that classic guitar sounding pluck. So I went into the Triton, and you can just go to guitar plucked. I like this chorus E guitar preset, or you could go to any of the clavinet presets in Analog Lab, or there's a bunch of them in Triton as well. And then I just laid down a super simple bouncy pattern using the exact same chords and the melody. The only difference, sometimes I like took out the 9th, like right here, just gave it a little bit of a different feel. Just use the triads here, you know, just messing with the voicings and like the actual playing of the notes, but they're the same chords as the pads. For some final touches, a super simple string, just using notes in the melody already, just to give it an accent. A lead, which is from Triton. I ended up like chopping it up a little bit. I love the leads from Triton, and the key here, follow notes in the scale, don't overcomplicate it. I did very simple patterns, and I love these little like glide notes. So let's say you want to place a note here, you just put the note before it in the scale and just kind of have it glide up. I think super simple leads like this do well for Tecca. Like, it's simple but also catchy. So last thing, Analog Lab bass line. I wanted to go super groovy here. Like, followed the bass lines like all together. This is what we got. Little variations here for like the verse section. Simpler bass line, simpler chords. This progression right here was actually from my new 2000's multi-kit, which I'll talk about in a second. But in terms of mixing of the sounds, most of these sounds don't have much on them. Although some of these sounds, just to get its right spot in the mix, chorus, reverb, delay, there is no secret when it comes to mixing melodies. I don't have any secrets. Just do what sounds good. Give everything its own space in the mix. So I'll have one lead to the left, one lead to the right. So now for the drums, I want to give a bit of a history lesson before we go into it. A lot of these old style sounds just didn't sound good off rip. They required a lot of mixing, a lot of layering different sounds together. I'm sure you've heard the famous story from Kanye West, Stronger, with Timbaland.
The song out, it's #1 on Apple, it's blowing up. I play it in a club and it sounds muddy. It doesn't sound the way Sexy Back sounded in the club. I go to Timbaland, the person who did Sexy Back.
What he was explaining there is that he just didn't have the right mix of the kick. Like, they didn't have enough low end or something like that. And that's why I put together my 2000's kit, which doesn't only just come with a drum kit. This kit has a bunch of drums which are already mixed, already layered. Sounds good off rips. You don't have to do all that work. You don't have to go through 75 different versions like Kanye did. It's got drum fills, 808s. It's got loops, drag and drop drum loops and percussion loops. You can instantly sauce up your beats. It's got a bunch of drum midis. It's got a bunch of melody midis. It's got a bunch of starters and phrases, so you can drag and drop. Already have an idea ready. Maybe add some phrases to it, add some drums. It's all you need for 2000's beats. It is by far the best kit on the market. And I'm doing a soft launch today. I haven't announced it anywhere else. So the first 5 people to get this kit can get it for only $5, which is genuinely like robbing myself, because I could sell a kit with this much value in it for $20, $30, $40, maybe even $50. But I'm not going to do that. The first 5 people will get it for $5. After that, it'll go up to 10, maybe even 20, maybe even 30. So get it while you can. I wanted to make this the best and most affordable 2000's kit on the market. So with that being said, let's get into these drums. With the snares, in my opinion, you should have your main snare and then kind of have like a counter snare to go on top of it. So I have actually separated that in the kits folder. I have my main snares, and I actually added like a layer snare folder as well. For the kicks, I just dragged in one of the kicks from the kit as well as one of the drum midis from the kit, and now we already have this bounce going. The key with these 2000's beats is not just to add like a 2-step hat and call it a day, is to add a bunch of different percussion elements to fill in all the gaps. So I'll just play them all for you right here. This was a MIDI from the kit. Obviously all sounds from the kit. So I actually don't have a hat at all in this beat. I actually have a shaker in place of a hat, but notice it's not really a 2-step at all. Inside of the drum loops folder, and by the time this kit drops, there'll probably be even more in here. I have some percussion loops as well, so if you just wanted the percussion element and not the full drums element, you can drag in something and then there's already a little bit of a percussion bounce going. And I just dragged in like this super simple tambourine loop, which I also threw in the kit. All together, we got this so far. In these 2000s beats, I often just let the bass do its thing, but I actually wanted to add a bit of a harder 808, just because, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of a modern feel to these Tecca songs and then like these modern 2000s beats. So I grabbed this bass from the kit. It's not quite an 808. There are 808s in there, but I grabbed this bass and I just laid down a very simple pattern, same as the kicks pattern, but I matched the bass notes. That sounded pretty good. Now for mixing, you're going to be amazed. The master is just the typical soft clipper, and then I did a little boost in the high ends. But all of these drum sounds pretty much, I think all of them have literally nothing on them, because I've already gone through and done the hard work for you. I mix the sounds for you, so you don't have to go through, layer a bunch of sounds together. It's that simple. It's already mixed. The only thing I did do, a little bit of sidechain on the kick and 808. You know, I can't do that for you, but just like that, the mix is done. It's all you need. The arrangement, I kept it simple. It's just like a little 4-count intro, hook, verse, hook, outro. I worked super hard in this kit, so I really do hope you guys take a look at it, see what it's about. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know who you want to see me cover next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.